Good evening. It is Wednesday, April 21st, 2021, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I am your host, David Lamm, and with me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
That's going to get the extended applause.
We have a longer version?
Well, I mean, it's like a 12 or 15. I don't know. I mean, whatever the studio audience puts out.
But then they shut off real fast.
I have
They're
control.
very disciplined.
I have pretty good control of the studio audience. That's all I'm saying.
Do you do like the hand, like the conductor? We're like, silence.
Right. Yeah, I know. I got the sign up that says applause, and I turn it off. Anyway, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Right.
We are live streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. Please check out our webpage, www.lambsports.com, and you can find links to the past shows, current trivia questions on there. The first segment of the show is brought to you by the. You know what? I always forget this. Why do I always screw this up right off the bat? The first segment, and then you know what I mean? I don't have it all. Look, it's not even full. You can, and then there's stuff down here. You know what? One of these days I'll figure this all out. Anyway, brought to you by the Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services. It's all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at the Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamm Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, this is my intro, by the way. I feel like this. Parker, are you there? I lost Parker.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Oh, I feel like this is
I'm
true.
here.
I feel like this graph is absolutely
yes.
true. And no matter what Wii sports you're playing, it's true. You get a strike in bowling, you get a home run in the baseball. It doesn't matter. It's like the feeling, this gigantic feeling of, oh, I did it.
It's true.
It's true.
Very true.
So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're not going to waste a ton of time. We're going to get into this kind of right away because, like I said, there's just a gigantic amount of stuff to talk about. So first things first, we're going to talk about former Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin was found guilty on Tuesday of murder in the death of George Floyd. And the sports world was abuzz with comments and statements. LeBron James, and I'm not sure this is the right tweet. I don't have his tweet. That's the problem. I don't have that actual first tweet. He tweeted one word, which was accountability.
Right.
Feeling like he finally had held someone accountable for that death, and that's a good thing. Carl Anthony Towns also posted justice and accountability, things I never thought I would see. There's much more work to do, but this is an amazing start working toward the reform this country needs.
Right.
Naomi Osaka, I was going to make a celebratory tweet, but then I was hit with sadness because we were celebrating something that is clear as day. The fact that so many injustices occurred to make us hold our breath toward this outcome is really telling. And then Emmanuel Acho also tweeted, you don't applaud a fish for swimming, and you don't applaud the justice system for providing justice. But thankfully today we can breathe a sigh of relief.
Right.
So those were those big ones. And then what you can see on the screen is what the Raiders posted, which is a big deal. They took a lot of flack for this.
Well, they didn't do their research before they posted it.
Well, but the family of George Floyd has come out and supported the Raiders.
That's because they know their heart was in the right place.
Correct. That's exactly right. They were doing the right thing.
Right.
Execution might have been bad, but you know what I mean?
The internet will be the internet is the problem with this scenario.
And that's it. You're going to have trolls no matter what.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you say. There's going to be somebody out there.
You could probably could, because they said that they paraphrased this "I can breathe." They paraphrased it from something that George Floyd's family had said, in
Oh,
their
right.
in their posting where they said we finally can breathe a little bit. So
Right.
they kind of paraphrased that into I can breathe, but you didn't do your research to figure out that this was the pro police motto in protest to the anti police
Yeah,
motto.
I
You
mean,
just have to be a slightly
it's
your team has to be slightly better than that.
it's kind of par for the course anymore that no matter what you post, it's more controversial than the original thing that happened anyway. I
Right.
mean, that's just kind of how we are, and no matter what you post on social media, and this is part of why the Best Lamb Sports Show has kind of shied away from a lot of social media, is that no matter what you post, someone's got a comment that you're wrong, and it doesn't matter what you say. There's always somebody out there who makes you sound like Satan because you
Sure.
said whatever it is you said.
Yeah.
Um,
This is one of those scenarios, but at least they meant well.
they did.
And Mark Davis took every bit of flack. He said, "No,
Absolutely.
that was me. I did this."
And
Like he was very upfront about it. I think that's a
yeah,
well, I would never see
kudos.
Jerry Jones step in front of a bullet like that.
No, kudos to, I mean, for owning it.
And I thought Mark Davis was a crazy person. So
Well,
this is working out for him. It's
his
helping his
dad.
image.
I mean, his dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was a crazy person.
Was a crazy person.
I mean, there's that. So here's the statement from the NFL. Today's outcome in the Derek Chauvin trial in Minneapolis does not undo the loss of life. Mr. George Floyd should be here with us today. Our hearts remain with the Floyd family, and we understand the pain, anger, and frustration does not go away even when justice is delivered. Importantly, even as we identify reasons for hope, we must continue to help move our society toward a more equal and just tomorrow. We are proud to partner with NFL players and clubs and remain committed to do the important work needed to make positive change in our society. That was a statement from the NFL. Probably can't say it any better than that.
I would have been curious to read their other prepared statement if it was not
The other
guilty.
way,
Yeah, because
that would
they had one for both.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? That would make for much more interesting radio, by the way, or TV.
Unfortunately, yes, yes. No, that's a good thing. Since they came out in last year's draft and said, was it last year's draft, and said the words Black Lives Matter, because they had been avoiding it and avoiding it and avoiding it, and finally they're like, yes, we're going to support it. The NFL has done a pretty damn good job of at least publicly. Supporting all of their players and all of their endeavors.
And I think that you would know if the players were unhappy with the direction the NFL had taken.
Right. Because they'd be fairly vocal.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, they're vocal when they get a fine for wearing the wrong cleats.
Right.
They'd be more vocal if they were trying to feel like they were being silenced.
They're vocal when they actually do something wrong.
They're vocal when they actually do something wrong, but not when things are going well, which is good. I mean, who has complaints when things are going well?
I mean, all right. So every league, it seems, made a statement, right? Yeah. When this came out. So there's the one from the NBA and the NBA players. I'm not going to read all the way through all of these, but they're kind of all the same, in that we're hoping that this can be a healing moment and a come together kind of moment, and it's not going to fix everything. We know that. Everybody knows that there's much further to go, but I think here's one from the NHL. I like this one. While we hope the end of the trial offers a chance for healing, we remain committed to actively engaging in the movement for equality, and we invite our fans to join us in supporting systemic change.
You don't need a couple paragraphs. You just need like one sentence.
And this is coming from the league with the least amount of black players in it.
The least amount of color in that league, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Of any kind.
It's a pretty watered down white league.
It is as European as you can get.
As European as English or French. It's French.
There's some Canadians in there. And,
French Canadians.
And then, Russians. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. French and Russian.
Right. So there was all that. Of course, Major League Baseball had their statement here. They're going to continue to try and advance the values of social justice, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Everybody kind of made that same statement, right? That this is not the end. This is just the beginning of trying to get more.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the issue that we're going to talk about briefly. We're going to go over today, by the way.
It's okay.
Okay, so just minutes before the verdict was read, there was, in Columbus, Ohio, police officer Nicholas Reardon shot and killed a 16-year-old girl, Makia Bryant, who was swinging a knife at two other people. Not long after that happened, after that was released, that there was another white officer that had shot a black female, LeBron James had a tweet. he tweeted that one word of accountability for the verdict. This tweet had a picture, and I'm gonna show it to you. Here's the tweet that he posted, and it says "You're next." Hashtag accountability with a picture of that officer.
Right.
Okay. What he didn't know at that time was they're about to release body cam footage
Sure.
of what actually happened in that altercation, and there was clearly lethal intent from that girl when she was swinging the knife at another girl.
Right.
It was a big altercation. It was a fight. It was a brouhaha in a driveway at a house, and I don't know how it escalated, but if you watch the body cam footage that they released, you can see a guy kicking a girl on the ground. You see this Makia Bryant swinging a knife at this girl in a pink jumpsuit, looks like a sweatsuit. It is out of control, and
Right.
he shot 4 shots and killed her. Now he immediately tried to resuscitate to save her life, but at that point it was too late. Um, it was to me it was an immediate response by LeBron for something that he didn't have all the facts for. He just knew
Right.
that a white officer had shot a black girl.
That's the beauty of Twitter.
And exactly. But then he
It
took it
allows
down.
for your gut check.
It's
Yeah.
been deleted because he knew it was wrong. But he doesn't go on and post I'm sorry, I didn't have all the facts or I didn't have any information. He immediately just deleted it because he knew that there was going to be backlash, which there was. And that to me is the problem with our society. We can post stuff, everyone sees it, and then you delete it like, oh, well, nothing happened. And I'm not even going to post an excuse or a reason why I did it, which is accountability. And if you're going to post a thing that says hashtag accountability, be accountable for what you post. So there's a double-edged sword here. You know what I mean? I agree with him in the accountability post. There needed to be accountability. What Officer Chauvin did, well, former officer, what he did was unnecessary, absolutely, and contributed to the death. And he was convicted of murder, and so he's going to jail. This instance here is totally different.
Definitely a different situation, but it goes on to speak that, you know, the bigger issue seems to be the lunge to force. All right, there are times when it seems necessary, like in this one. You seem to think that there was an immediate, incredible danger to life,
Yeah.
and so taking action was absolutely important, vital, and was very necessary. The difference between where you and I differ is that you have 2 weapons on your hip. One's a taser, one's a firearm. It's still your choice. Obviously the woman in Minnesota who pulled the wrong weapon, right?
Right.
That's another thing where you're talking about
Right.
this is a whole fiasco. And I'll be honest, I can feel bad. I can sympathize with the mistake that she made.
Right.
She did something she didn't mean to do, and it's terrible. However, this comes back to training.
Yeah.
Are police officers properly trained as a general rule? Are they properly trained to handle dangerous and volatile situations? Time and time again, they've been proven to not be. They're not capable of it. They're civil servants. They're underpaid. They're overworked. They're stressed out.
Right.
They're outnumbered.
Correct.
What in the hell makes you think that the 6 weeks that they spend at an academy are going to prepare them for these moments?
Yeah.
This isn't, I mean, you can talk about defunding police, but I think that if you want to solve the problem, you kind of have to, burn the crop, and then you have to rebuild with an emphasis on training. I don't think there should be no police, but you have to rebuild with an emphasis on training.
So one of those things I've always said, and of course no one listens to me, but one of those things I always said was, why are police officers someone whose literally judgment is life or death?
Right.
Why are they not required to have a bachelor's degree or a PhD? Right?
Yep.
Why is it a teacher,
undertrained, undereducated?
A teacher who teaches kindergarten kids,
right,
is required to have a bachelor's degree at a minimum, and then continuing education. How come this police officer isn't?
To hand out finger paintings,
yeah, right,
and finger painting accessories,
right,
you need a degree. But to carry a weapon,
right,
and
2
patrol
weapons.
streets with authority, 2 weapons and patrol streets with authority,
right,
you need a GED.
I think we need to fund the police more. I think that needs to be a thing that you would be able to provide better training, hire better people if they were paid more. You'd be able.
Right.
That just goes hand in hand. If
But
you,
you have an infrastructure right now
yeah,
of police who've done it this way and created this what they call the blue wall of silence.
yeah,
You have to burn the crop. The whole thing's got to go, and then we can replant seeds, and then we can grow it the proper way with a lot of training, requiring bachelor's degrees for incoming officers, requiring master's degrees for detectives. Things
right,
like that.
yeah.
Requiring anybody
The
who's in
next
any position
level,
of power to be extremely educated.
right? If a basic
So
police officer is required to have a bachelor's degree, then yeah, a detective or someone at the next, someone who makes captain should be
right.
required to have, you know what I mean, that next level
That's not
uh,
to say people who don't
of
have
education.
degrees aren't
Can
capable of being intelligent, who aren't capable of making intelligent, rational decisions, but there just seems to be a common
I,
thread
I will
that there's undereducation and undertrained.
I will tell you this. What I know from going to college from is that if you take someone who just went to high school, has a high school diploma, and never left Podunk, Kansas,
Right.
and they've never been exposed to people of another color or people of
Right.
another religion, because in the town of 600 where they grew up and went to school, there were none.
Right.
They are not able to process what they see when they become, you know what I mean, when this situation comes down, and they're exposed to that. When you go to college, you get exposed to that. Now when you do it from home and you do it online, it's different.
A little
And
different.
that's
It's
kind
a
of the
little,
way
but even then, if you're actually studying and you're
you're.
actually listening, and
Yeah,
your course in college is good enough at diversing your curriculum,
right, correct.
you should encounter things in
and,
your studies that won't necessarily surprise you in the real world.
and anyone who's gotten out of their own hometown and been somewhere else to a larger
Right.
city or another country, you have a
Right.
better appreciation for that, for the interaction, for the way you're perceived, for the way you perceive others. It's just
Right.
better. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is that a kid with a high school diploma who joins his local police force and becomes police chief
Right.
in a town of 1,000. He doesn't have that experience. He's never had to experience someone from another religion or from another, because their town is so small. It is what it is. And anyway, I feel like
We were talking about this the other day about community policing. Not you and me, but me and Cassie were talking about the other day about community policing. Like, should people be allowed to police their own community? That's where corruption tends to happen. I'm gonna let Bob go because I've known Bob for 20 years.
and that's
Or I'm not going to charge this person, or I'm not going to pull them over. Oh, that's just Steve's truck that's going 40 over here. He does that all the time. No big deal. Like, community policing
that
creates what's it called? It creates corruption, but it also gives you a link and trustworthiness. So you should always pair two people, one person not from that community and one person from that community, to check each other.
well, it's funny because we have in our neighborhood here in
Yeah.
Yakima, we have a community patrol car
Yeah.
that can drive around. It's part of the sheriff's department, can drive around and patrol the area.
Yeah.
But I don't know what their authority is. I can't tell you what they can or can't do. But the presence is what's out there. You know what I mean? To
Right.
deter.
It's a deterrent on
Sure.
it. Yeah.
But I do know this from living in Ellensburg, is that the Ellensburg PD would tell you that the police officers in the police department are not allowed to patrol their own neighborhood.
Yeah, it stands to reason that it's
Right.
usually a bad idea because
Yeah.
you don't want to piss off your neighbors, for
Right.
one.
No, I mean
They know
that's
where
gonna.
you live.
Yeah. Right. He knows I'm
But
next door.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
reasons why community policing is a rough issue, but then you get into the idea of, well, when you're dealing with neighborhoods that have poverty, and we're getting off topic here, but you're dealing with
Yeah.
neighborhoods that have poverty and things like that. When you don't recognize yourself in a police officer,
Yeah.
you instinctively won't trust them.
Yeah.
If this person doesn't look like me, act like me, talk like me, how am I going to trust that this person knows what I'm dealing with right now?
Right. So long
So
story short, be careful what you post. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Be careful what you
yeah,
post on social media, because you know what I mean. It's not everyone wants to assume it's First Amendment free speech. I can post whatever I want. Yeah, but the way it's interpreted, because you may say it one way, but it's going to be interpreted another way by
well, he
somebody else.
he took it
It's
down
always
because
that way.
it's hyper aggressive to say you're next.
Right. It
If he would
really
have
is.
just put the
It's a
picture and
threat.
wrote accountability,
Right.
You're still just saying this situation needs to be assessed.
It's
People need to be held responsible in the
right.
proper ways.
It's a threat, though, to say you're
It's
next.
but he's not in a position to actually threaten people,
Mm,
so it doesn't actually matter.
I don't know. He's got a lot of money.
I mean,
Um,
he's not wrong. Or
uh,
wait, hold on. Did you just just offhand accuse LeBron of possibly?
I'm just saying, he's got a lot of money. He's got a sphere of influence that's larger
Yeah.
than you or I. I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to put out a hit on someone. Can you?
I know, but also I doubt in any way, shape, or form that that's even
I'm not saying he
remotely.
would. I'm just saying. You hear me, right? I'm,
Kind of, but not
okay.
really.
I
No,
mean,
you're liable to just get some crazy
then why
person
would you
here that
post
goes,
that?
"Yeah, he's right," and then go and do something
Right. Well,
about it.
why would he post that? That's my point. Is
Because
that
he's being instinctive, and
yeah,
he's a
it's
from this new age of people who
a
are
bad
instinctive
choice.
and just immediately tweet their things because their thoughts can't live in their brain. They have to live in the world.
It's a bad choice.
Otherwise, they're not real.
Let's all admit that it's just a bad decision.
It
What
was
to
just a
tweet?
bad decision,
Yeah.
and he knows that. He
Right.
deleted it and
Exactly.
has since said a
But come
couple
on.
things to kind of
Well,
corral back on it. So
okay. I was gonna say you got to come on and you got to own it at some point and say, "Hey, I made a mistake. Let's all tone it down," because that's inciting violence against people by saying
yeah.
that. And then we don't want that. We don't want to do that. That's not how we are.
I mean, his follow-up tweet was said, "Anger doesn't do any of us any good, and that includes myself. Gathering all the facts and educating does, though. My
Okay.
anger is still here for what happened to that little girl.
Yeah.
My sympathy for her family, and may justice prevail."
Better.
That is a much
Better.
more reasonable thing to say.
Yeah. We're okay.
Like that acknowledges that you did this and that was not smart. It acknowledges
Right.
what the correct path was, being educated,
Right.
learning all the facts,
Correct.
and it also acknowledges your stance that you feel bad for the girl and you want justice to prevail.
Absolutely.
That's a much better way to do it.
I
If that would
mean,
have just been your first tweet,
the
you'd have been better, LeBron.
the mayor of Columbus came out and said it probably better than anybody I could have, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said basically, he's a father and he's upset about the whole situation, regardless of whether it was right or wrong. That the city of Columbus lost a 16-year-old girl today,
And that's close to LeBron's home.
right?
Columbus and
Right,
the whole
sure,
state of Ohio is right there
absolutely.
in his heart. So
That was a big deal.
yeah, I kind of get the overreaction, but have the good grace like he did.
Yeah.
To make a correction.
All right. So
Moving on.
All right, moving on. Here we go. Here we go. So let's talk about the other thing that happened, and my slideshow is not exactly where it should be, but there it is. So it was announced on Sunday that 12 European soccer clubs had agreed to form a breakaway league called the European Super League. And bear with me because it's a little wordy. The league would have behaved in much the same way as the current UEFA Champions League, except that the founding 15 members would be assured a spot in the league tournament regardless of their club's finish in their respective leagues. There would have been 5 additional teams that would have been invited based on performance, making the total 20 teams. The 12 teams that originally signed up were Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Tottenham from the English Premier League. Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Real Madrid from La Liga in Spain, and AC Milan, Inter Milan, and Juventus from Italian Serie A, which is the Premier League in Italy. Right. The other 3 teams that were presumably being asked to join as founding members were Paris Saint-Germain from the French League, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayern Munich from the Bundesliga in Germany.
Literally just a who's who of soccer teams in Europe.
It is. And I say all this in the past tense because after fan and player backlash, it was announced on Tuesday that the 6 English Premier League teams would not be joining. And they were followed by the Italian teams, effectively suspending any plans for the league. And what a gigantic mess. I mean,
it was a poor rollout.
It couldn't have been. And I'm reading this. You can read this thing on the screen right now from Joel Glazer, the Manchester United. He, we're going to bring world class competition. Well, Champions League already does that, but it rewards you for finishing at the top of your league. This league would have.
This is what the SEC wish they could do.
This league would have assured that these 15 teams are in no matter what. If you finish dead last in your league, you're still in that Champions League. Well, that's not okay. There's no penalty for being bad. It only rewards teams for being good in the past.
Yeah,
and historically good. And
it's the only structure like this in the world.
It is. It absolutely is. I have a lot of feelings on this, and we're not going to go into them because we're going to be late no matter what. But it was a poor rollout. There's still 6 or 7 games left in most leagues. In the English Premier League and the Bundesliga, they're still playing soccer. Right. Why wouldn't you wait until after the season? And none of the owners, none of the people involved in this asked the players or the coaches. They just did it because they knew it was going to be a windfall of gigantic proportions.
Owners consistently undervalue their players and the voice that they have
Yeah.
and the stir that they can cause.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think you have to ask a coach. Coaches will just do. They're salaried employees. They'll be fine. I think they'll get by. But I think if your star players aren't on board, if there are a couple of them that are off, you need to be very careful because they can rally your whole entire fan base against you as an owner.
Well, it can absolutely, and those top tier players that you have could absolutely say, you know what, we're against this, and if you go forward with this, when my contract is up, I want to go play somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaving.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So they have all
go
the
ahead and
power,
start sitting me now.
right? They have all the power.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a just a fiasco right from the get go, and it was interesting to watch that the league lasted a mere 48 hours or so, and it was over. And not that it won't come back in some form, but they'll try and reconstitute it somehow. But oh, good lord, it was just a mess. And I prepared all these slides, was telling you how it was going to work, how they were going to figure it out, and then all of a sudden, by the time I had finished this particular segment, everybody was out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
Sounds right. Yeah, no,
So
it was a pretty messy situation, and I feel like they would have done better just to roll it out, like you said, after the season, or to even kind of like just like, it'd be kind of cool to see a full league of people, of
right,
teams. What do you guys think? And then just like
right.
really slyly ask everyone. I think it would have gone better than just saying, so this is what we're gonna do, and it's going to ruin the way you like sports.
It is. It absolutely going to ruin the way you like sports.
Yeah.
So, on Sunday, in
Okay.
Formula One, we're going to talk about Formula One. Max Verstappen jumped out in front on the first lap of the Emilia Romagna Made in Italy Grand Prix. That's literally what it's called. At Imola in Italy, and navigated through the slippery conditions because it was wet to get his first win of the season. Lewis Hamilton, last week's winner, was second. Hamilton, at one point, slid off the course and damaged his car, leaving him a lap down. But there was a red flag that came out when Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas was involved in a collision with George Russell on lap 31 that enabled Hamilton to get back in the race. I want to show you a quick clip of that, by the way. Here it comes.
Well, Hamilton will recover.
Right, we're just watching a replay now, Ted, on board with George Russell, who hits Bottas. Oh. Yes, because he gets onto the grass. So he's going for the overtake, gets onto the grass, gets a tank slapper, runs straight into Bottas.
You can hear the you could hear the engine revs go up. Massive impact. Once again, we're seeing the.
So, did you see how far they slid?
They slid a ways.
It was 100
some things.
It's 180, 190 mile an hour collision on a racetrack. Neither of them flipped over, which was amazing to me. But that just goes to the engineering of the car and how they've made it much more safer than it used to be. But in the past, if this had happened in 20 years ago, somebody was dying in that crash. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But this was amazing that these drivers just got up and walked away, and a little shaken up, and there's a bruise probably here or there from the rattling, but for the most part, that's all that happened. It was a collision that enabled Hamilton to get back into the race, and then he finished second. So his teammate, at first I was thinking, man, maybe Bottas did it on purpose to let Hamilton have a chance to catch up because he was a lap down, and the red flag enabled him to make up that lap, and they restarted.
That'd be a scandal,
right? I don't know.
That'd be a big deal.
I'm throwing it out there. That's probably what happened.
First, you throw out the LeBron's putting hits on people, and now you're throwing out that the Mercedes racing team is intentionally wrecking.
Hot takes all around today is all I'm saying.
I guess so. You're gonna get us kicked off the air.
I don't think they can, but all right. So anyway, at the end of the day, there's two races. Hamilton leads Verstappen by 1 point after two races. And the next race is the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's on Sunday, May 2nd. If you want to watch it, it'll be on ESPN. The qualifying and the practice rounds will be on ESPN2. Just letting you know. And it happens early in the morning, so record
it. So record it, watch it later.
I mean, that's what I do. I mean, unless you're up at 6 a.m., record it. Let's talk about the NBA.
Oh, Kadokers?
Because that's what we're going to talk about right now. Going into today, at the start of today, the Sixers led the Brooklyn Nets, right, in the East by 1/2 game, and it still looks like that. 39-19 for the Sixers, 39-20 for the Nets. We still see the Milwaukee Bucks in third. It doesn't look like they're going anywhere. Looks like they're going to be mired in third. And then you have the Hawks and the Knicks and the Celtics all 8-2 in their last 10, just on fire. The Knicks have won 7 straight, right?
Knicks figuring it out.
To come from 2 under 500 to where they are now.
Knicks in the playoffs. It's blowing my mind.
Maybe a chance to be a home playoff.
Knicks in the playoffs,
what?
period, is pretty wild.
Anyway, that division, the Eastern Conference kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Sixers are a good team. That's a good basketball team. And the Nets are a good basketball team. The Bucks are hit and miss. I don't know what you're going to get with the Bucks. Everybody after that, okay, they're hot right now, but it could be because they're playing each other in the East. And, when you're playing the Pistons, the Magic, and the Cavaliers, you're going to move up.
Right.
So, but in the West, it is still the Utah Jazz. 43-15. They are a game ahead of the Phoenix Suns at 42-16. The Suns have made up 2 games in the last 10 games, so they're catching. Right. Are the Phoenix Suns better than the Utah Jazz in your opinion?
I think they're younger. I think that youth is maybe showing itself a little bit, and down the stretch they're getting better. But I think that come playoff time, it won't really matter because only one of those guys really on Phoenix has playoff experience. It's Chris Paul. Everyone else is fairly young.
That's true.
So I think that'll pay off. Towards the Jazz. So I don't think that they're better necessarily. I just think that they're younger, and I think that they're striding at a good time.
The rest of the West, the Denver Nuggets, also 8-2 in their last 10 games, but can't seem to make up any ground because everyone else is good too. And then you have the Lakers who isolated themselves, right? 2.5 behind Denver, 2.5 ahead of Portland, even though they can't win very many games. But Portland can't win a game. They're 3-7 in their last 10. The Mavericks have made up 2 games in the last 10 games, but they're still not. They've lost their last 2. They can't seem to make up any ground. Then there's the Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, who are hot thanks to Steph Curry and his 11 or 12 games in a row with 30 points a game, setting some kind of record.
Just unreal play.
He had 49 in the last game. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I've never seen a stretch like this, even from him.
Right.
So it's when Steph Curry's impressing you by doing what Steph Curry does, that's even more impressive. But they did lose today to the Wizards.
And when we talked, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, when we talked about the play-in, I think it was last week. We talked about the play-in. That they're going to have a play-in. They are having a play-in, and it's a mess. But we'll talk about that in a couple weeks when we get closer to playoff time.
That's right.
But so if you're in the top 10, you still have a chance to make the top 8. At the end of the season. And that right now includes San Antonio at an even 28-28. And it looks like that's as far as it goes. They have a 4-game lead over the Pelicans for that last gasp playoff spot. I don't know what you want to call it. But the Blazers, let's talk about the Blazers for a minute because what is wrong with the Portland Trailblazers? They lost to the Clippers last night, 113-112, in a game they should have won. They should have been able to finish it out. They played without Damian Lillard, but they still should have been able to finish that game and beat. And I get the Clippers have some stars. I understand, but when you're in position to win at the last 2 minutes of the game, you got to finish. There's got to be a way to finish. What do you see as the biggest issue with a team that's gone 3-7 in their last 10? They're playing Denver tonight, which is a huge game, and then of course they have 3 of the 4 against the Grizzlies, which could be helpful if they can beat the Grizzlies. What's the biggest concern you have with Portland right now?
Just their inability to play competent defense and stop people or even limit people who are talented. I mean, yeah, that Kawhi and Paul George and these big stars are going to be able to do certain things. You just kind of know this, but you have to stop everyone else. If you're going to let Kawhi have 30 and PG have 30, you can't let the whole bench have, the whole rest of the team and the bench have another 50. It just can't happen. You're going to lose every game at that rate. You've got to be better than that. And they've not been able to piece together a whole game of competent defense in quite a while, since midseason. Since before Nurk got back.
Right.
Nurk came back and they kind of trended downhill.
So currently, Portland leads the Nuggets 36-35, and Lillard is playing. But it's tight, and we don't know what's going to happen. That's a team that seems to sometimes they can finish games out, sometimes they can't. I feel more secure with them with Damian on the floor at the end of the game because number one, he's a 90-something% free throw shooter, and he can hit a three from anywhere if he needs to.
Right.
So that's at the end of the first quarter, 36-35, Portland. But the same team that they lost to last night in the Clippers is losing by 15 at the end of the first quarter of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Right.
And I just don't know what to make of the league at the bottom part. I don't know that any of these teams are any kind of consistent that you can say this team is better than another team. I think that from, Portland, let's say 6 on down through 10, those teams are probably pretty even. It
Yeah.
kind of how I feel. I don't know for sure.
I feel like they're pretty even. I feel like that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, the Nets lost tonight to the Raptors. The Sixers lost tonight to the Suns. So there's another win for the Suns on the road in Philly. The Warriors did lose to the Wizards, so there's that. But let's take a quick peek and see what Steph Curry had tonight. By the way, so Steph,
He had 18 points. He did not have a great night.
he did not have a great
He was
night.
2 of 14 from 3. Not good.
Yeah, 7 of 25 from the field. As a team, they were him and Andrew Wiggins went a combined 12 of 45. So, yeah, not so much. So, the Warriors aren't the same Warriors team because they don't have the players they had before. Without Klay Thompson, without Kevin Durant, they're not the same Warriors team that you feared. You know what I mean? That we're going to win 70 games.
Yeah, and also you don't fear them beating you by 30, but
No.
you should fear them beating you right now.
Sure, absolutely. They're capable. Steph Curry is capable of beating anybody at any point. By himself, which is really sad. All right, so let's move on because we got a lot of stuff still to talk about, and we're well over halfway.
That's right.
That NBA stuff brings us to our trivia question for the week, and trivia question is brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. And they're open at both locations. The winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, 7 days a week from 12 to 6 for patio dining. The downtown tasting room at 210 Oak Street is 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Go to stavenstone.com and check out their selection of award-winning wines or make a reservation to go taste for yourself. Call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Email them info@stavenstone.com for more information. Stave and Stone, wines with personality. You can see it right there. So the trivia question this week is NBA. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. In a list of the NBA's top single season rebounds per game leaders.
Okay.
You got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first 18 spots on that list are held by 2 men. 9 apiece. So there are 18 seasons that are the top 18 rebounds per game in NBA history. 2 guys have done all 18 of those seasons, 9 apiece. Who
Right.
are they? And what is the record for rebounds per game in the season?
Okay.
So, as always, it's 2 parts. Why? Because 1 part's too easy. So
that's fair.
Trivia question is always more fun if you got 2 parts to it.
That's fair.
So let's talk about Major League Baseball for a minute, shall we? Just briefly, because we're going to touch on the standings. Here's the standings in the East. Boston leads the AL, or in the East, in the American League. Boston leads the AL East 12-6. The AL Central, as we said last week, is a mess. Doesn't matter who you pick, they're not going to win. And then the AL West, Oakland, and this is where I say it, Seattle. Oakland's won 11th straight to be 12-7. They started the year 1-7. They are 12-7 now, and this is where I say, Seattle every year. Oh, we start out great, and we're different. It's different this year, and they're already in second place after 18 games. Even though they're much better record-wise than normal. Anyway, I want to root for Seattle, and I'm going to go to Mariners game at some point in time this year because they're the nearest one, and I love baseball. But anyway, that's the AL East, the American League, the National League. The Mets are leading the NL East, and you know what? I haven't seen the Mets lead the NL East in, well, it's been a while. But it's only 12 games in. So I'm not getting too excited. Milwaukee leads the NL Central at 11-7. There's Cincinnati at 9-7. The NL West is still the Dodgers at 14-4 with a 3-game lead over San Francisco. They're still probably the best team in baseball, even though they lost a couple games to Seattle. So, I don't know how good Seattle is, but
It's classic Seattle early
it's
season.
early.
They're winning a bunch of games, then they'll start losing here.
We're so early in the season. So, and I say that it's 18 games in out of 162 games. So they played 12% of the games or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a long ways from over, and there's a lot of baseball left to play. A lot of injuries coming. There's the streaks and the doldrums that you have in the middle of summer. That's all coming up. Everybody's
right.
going to experience that. So we don't know. We won't know anything until August probably.
That's right.
It's about August when you start to figure out who's who. So
yeah, I would say late July, August, you start to go, well, this team looks like they're going to make the playoffs. This team looks like they're officially kind of out.
Because by that point you played 100 games.
And you're well over halfway, or you're well over halfway.
You know kind of who the good teams are. Right now, you don't know who's any good because, like I said, you got this NL Central. If you look at it, the Cubs, who are last place, are 3 games back of the Brewers. That's nothing. 3 games, the NL East, the Braves are 2.5 back of the Mets. That's nothing. It's just nothing. There's no lead. You know what I mean? There's no clear cut. Like I say, excluding the Dodgers. So, but anyway. That's your baseball update. It's not much, I know, but you know what? Get your own show.
There isn't always that much to talk about.
There isn't always that much to talk about in baseball. So let's talk about the NHL, by the way, which I hadn't gone to the standings, but here's your NHL. The Honda West, the Vegas Knights back up ahead of Colorado, right? 2-point lead over Colorado. The Discover Central is Carolina and Florida and Tampa in a 3-way fight for first place. The Mass Mutual East is Washington, the Islanders, and Pittsburgh in a 3-way fight for East. Don't sleep on the Boston Bruins. I've said that 3 weeks in a row. They're right there. Be careful. They won 5 straight. And then the biggest lead of any of the leads is 4 points, and that's Toronto over Winnipeg in the Scotia North. Lots of hockey still. They played 70? That's 74 games. Buffalo's played 58 games, but Toronto's played 74 games. That's a 16-game difference, and that's COVID related. I get it, but man, they've got some hockey to make up to make it.
Well, that's what's happening right now with Vegas. They took the lead over them, but that's because what's it called? The Avalanche are on a timeout for COVID reasons.
It's causing a lot of havoc. It makes it really hard for teams to play with any consistency. And when you
actually feel like it's hurting NHL more than any other sport.
It has affected them disproportionately, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because Vancouver. Let's go look at Vancouver. Where are they? I thought they were in that division. What do I know? They're Canadian, so they got to be in this other division. They've only played 39 games.
Right.
And I added wrong, by the way. I was sitting there looking at 46 and 28. Toronto has played 46 games. So there's 7 games difference that Vancouver hasn't played because they've been behind. They've been behind the 8 ball.
Sure.
So, they've got games to make up. I don't know how they're going to work it out, but they'll figure it out. So,
yeah, they'll try. They'll try to the best they can.
Yeah, but when you play enough games, it really doesn't matter if everyone's played the exact same number of games, unless you come into that tie. And that's where I have a problem with it. Is that when 2 teams are tied at the end of the season, except one team hasn't played as many games because they're tied by percentage points or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, they'll figure it out. Flip a coin, whatever.
They figure it out. Usually the best team ends up in the playoffs, and maybe not in the playoffs, but usually the best teams end up in the finals.
Right.
If you're a faux team and you've managed to snake your way into the playoffs because of some percentages, you're going to get exposed.
Because of some percentages.
That's pretty much it.
That is it. So let's talk about MLS real quick. Portland Timbers opened the 2021 MLS season with a 1-0 loss to the Vancouver Whitecaps on Sunday night. Lucas Cavallini's second half header in the 49th minute was all Vancouver needed to defeat Portland. And let's take a brief. You know what? I've got it here. I swear I have it. And yet it isn't where I want it. Let's take a look at it.
Agonizingly close. Gutierrez will take the corner in towards that back post and the bullet header. Lucas Cavallini has the Whitecaps' first goal of the season.
A header by Lucas Cavallini, 49th minute, was all they needed, and they defeated Portland 1-0. Portland could not generate any offense, and their attack was a little lackluster. They're still alive, however, in the CONCACAF Champions League. They're in the quarterfinals, and they're going to play Club America, which is from Liga MX, which is the Mexican league, in the first leg of the quarterfinals on Wednesday, April 28th. That's next Wednesday, 1 week from today. So they're still alive in a Champions League. It's not the European Super League, but it is the CONCACAF Champions League. So there's that. Thoughts on the Timbers at all? You got any?
No,
It's
it's
too
so early.
It's one
It's
game.
too early to have any thought. Yeah.
All right, it's one game. I agree.
Yeah.
So what can
Yeah.
you do? All right. So I mean, I just thought maybe you had a comment or something.
Not really. I mean, it's the problem with soccer is that it's a slow-paced game. What, the other team found their offense on one play?
It was beautiful header though.
It was a beautiful header on one play. Congratulations, you found your offense on one play. They couldn't find their offense on one play. All it takes is one. It's one game. It's so not enough time to even have a thought about the teams. My best thing is the grass looks good. Field looked fantastic. I mean, they took all off season working on that field, and it really shows.
It's turf, so.
Well, you know what I mean.
It looks like it's that kind of turf. That's that whatever you call that turf.
It's field turf.
Field turf. It looks like grass, but
hey, I said they took all off season working on that field.
They did. They probably vacuumed the hell out of it. And
that's an accurate.
and
they drove through it with that little rake thing that moves the little plastic beads from one thing.
Right.
All right, so now everyone knows how they rake the fields. And they gained more out of that little bit that you gained from watching that first game because you don't know anything.
I mean, you're not wrong.
One game.
It's one game. I agree with you. So we'll talk more about the Timbers later.
I'll be here for their field update.
Right. The last segment of the show is brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns, BossKittyShop.com, and BossKittyLive.com. Be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com at 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday, which means you can watch them from 6 to 7 and then listen to us from 7 to whatever the time we're done. I mean, sometimes it's 8, whatever. And they're also on at 11 a.m. every other Sunday for fun, fiber games, tutorials, the occasional F-bomb. Something big is coming from Boss Kitty. Keep listening to our show and keep watching BossKittyLive.com for more details. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants.
Right.
So that brings us out of all the other sports to football.
Football.
So the first thing I want to talk about, by the way, is the see, now it's already dang this thing. I tell you what, it's killing me. The first thing I want to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals brand new uniforms. They released a video saying, hey, we're going to have brand new uniforms this year. Tide is one of their sponsors also in this Run It reveal video, and I'm going to let you watch it. Here we go.
Boys, let's suit up.
If you're gonna talk that talk, then you better walk that walk. If you
Okay, I think that's enough. So,
yeah.
So that's, by the way, that's former Oregon State University wide receiver standout Chad Johnson, or Ojo Cinco. You may know him better. Sitting in the chair.
He's the player formerly known as Chad Johnson.
The player, yeah, right, exactly. He should have a symbol, like
currently known as
right.
Ojo Cinco. He does have a symbol. It's
just
2
85.
numbers.
85.
Yep.
And he also, by the way, kicked an extra point, right, in a football game.
He's kicked 2 of them.
2 of them. Yeah,
he's kicked 2 of them.
He's a kicker
he
extraordinaire.
2 for 2, 100% on extra points.
If he qualified for it, he would be the highest lifetime extra point percentage.
I'm just saying the Chicago Bears are already looking into him because they need a kicker something fierce.
And it would not be above him to do it, by the way. I think
he's
he
probably going to be
could
better
do
at it than most people,
right?
Yeah.
I feel like
he couldn't do any worse than missing a couple kicks in the playoffs.
I feel like he'd say yes and just go, yeah, you want to pay me for what? Oh, absolutely.
I feel like he'd do it for publicity alone.
I don't know. I mean, he looked pretty comfortable smoking that cigar. So maybe that's
sure,
what he does.
You might. Well, I mean, you could do that as a kicker. Is he smoking on the field?
I mean, he's wiry. I All right, so I looked at this and I was anticipating a lot more than I got. I feel like
Yeah.
when you're going to announce that you have brand new uniforms, that it's going to be awesome. But this was, they're. I'll give them this. It's cleaner than the old look, which had patches of color and some weird 90-ish, uniform.
Bigger stripes and
Yeah.
stuff.
So this is really clean looking, and I like the clean. It's not bad. It just is. It's underwhelming.
It is underwhelming.
How about that? And to have a big video about it was to me funny because I'm like, wow, it's publicized brand new uniforms, but they're less exciting probably than the last one.
Than the previous uniforms.
Yeah. So
Well, they should have done what the Browns did. The Browns came out with new uniforms last year, and it was like, hey, here's an Instagram post. Check out the pictures.
And I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed there's no actual Bengal in it.
I could care less about that. I mean, how many actual Bengals are in Cincinnati?
Not many, but I mean,
I'm glad there's not one on the field either.
Call Joe Exotic. Get yourself a tiger.
Get yourself a tiger. Well,
what do
no,
I
you
know?
can't call him. You have to call Carol.
Right, you got to call Carol. All right, so I wanted to show that to everyone because this is the hype they put out now about look at these brand new uniforms, and I was like, your pants are solid white. There's nothing to them.
They're just a lot cleaner. They are a lot
cleaner.
And they look really good. And I will say I was worried they were going to change the helmets.
I give you a solid 6 on these.
Oh no, I'm going to go higher than that. I'd say
really?
I'd say like an 8. They're
really?
a very clean look. They're a very clean
It's
looking.
clean,
jersey.
but it's not exciting. There's a
All
difference.
Right, so
I mean,
real quick side note: what are your top 5 jerseys in the NFL?
Oh, right now?
Right off the top of your head.
Okay, so if I was going to go with a number 1 jersey right now in the
number
NFL,
1,
powder blue Chargers.
Sure.
Okay.
Number 2.
I like the aqua Dolphins.
Okay. Number 3.
I like the red New York Giants.
Ooh, number 4.
Okay, now we're stretching. Now you're testing my memory here.
We can sit at 3. You picked 3 very underwhelming jerseys.
No, well, hold on.
For your top 3, you could have picked Seattle. Anywhere in there with the crazy patterns on there.
I'm not talking about like an alternate jersey or something with a crazy green or something.
No, all of their jerseys have the same patterning to it. I'm not necessarily talking about. I mean, the number of the jersey, or what's it called? The color of the jersey was kind of hit or miss. It's about the design. You picked 3 very underwhelming designs of jersey. The Dolphins jerseys are pretty much just numbers, a name, and then the patches. That's it.
Okay.
There's nothing spectacular about
that. It's the color.
I'll give you that the Chargers jersey has a much better color to it, but the Chargers jersey is very reminiscent of these jerseys right here, except it's not the right color. So what I'm hearing from you is that it isn't that these jerseys are particularly underwhelming. You just don't like the colors as much. Okay. They don't suit you as much. If this was a powder blue jersey with gold, gold sleeve thing, or white numbers and white sleeve things, you'd be a little more like, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's hard to envision going that way now, but you would. Like, you could have picked 1,000 jerseys in the NFL. You could have picked the Jets jerseys and been like, I like the Gotham look and things like that.
You couldn't pick the Jets jerseys. That would be terrible.
But what I'm saying is those are exciting jerseys. When you're talking about exciting jerseys, you picked the Giants jersey.
Oh, I like
any of them are simple, bland
Yeah,
jerseys.
but they look good with the red and when they have when they wear the gray pants, pants, the red jersey, the blue helmet. It looks really good.
look like practice jerseys.
Well, yeah, kind of.
But that's
maybe that helps the quarterback not get hit.
That's not true.
How do you know? Because you've been trained all through. Maybe in the first game, it helps Eli Manning not get sacked. Or Daniel Jones now.
That's not the point. The point is that we're talking about uniquely creative designed jerseys.
Nobody has any.
The Jaguars had some a couple years
ago. Those are terrible.
The Titans currently have some fairly wild-looking jerseys with the sword things on the arms.
I'm okay with the Titans. The Titans jerseys would be in the top 5 probably.
So those are fairly exciting jerseys, but as opposed to like the Raiders and the Giants jerseys. Those are the same.
But the Raiders
are the same thing.
Yeah, but the Raiders jerseys have been the same for 50 years.
But they're the same jersey. One's just red and one's just black. But like it doesn't no difference. So they're not exciting. They're bland. They go at the bottom for bland jerseys.
What I'm saying is the old Giants would have worn just blue or white.
Right.
The red is
so
a
the red
departure.
Pops. Yeah. But what you said was that these jerseys were underwhelming.
Underwhelming.
What would have made them more whelming for you?
We have that saying around here, by the way. If something gets out of whack, how do we put it back in whack?
How do you put it back in wax?
So how would we make this more well-made?
Would you want more tiger stripes along the midsection?
Maybe
Would you want tiger stripes in
on
the numbers?
pants.
Or like, I feel like if they would have done those
I
things, you
don't
would have gone, well,
know.
those are tacky, and
I
that's kind of
don't-
what they were.
I don't like the tiger stripes on the helmet.
They brought the. I see. That's the one. That's their defining characteristic.
I know it is, but I don't like that there. I feel like you could do something different there, and put stripes everywhere else. But I don't know. But the stripes on the helmet look weird. Because are they the only team in the league? No, they're not. Are they? I say that. Are they the only team in the league without a logo on the helmet?
Okay, I'll do that for too long. That's gonna annoy people.
I'm just asking because I don't
might
know.
Be.
I can't think of another team off the top of my head that doesn't have a logo on the helmet.
Crap! I think you're. Wait, what do the Giants helmets look like?
They got an NY on the helmet or NY.
Oh, they have an NY. That's right. That's right. It's an NY.
Right.
I couldn't remember if it was an NY or a number.
Maybe
Jets
both.
got a logo.
Jets
Man,
got a logo.
everyone's got a logo. I
I
think.
can't think of a team that doesn't have a logo on their helmet, and the Bengals are the only one.
Bengals are the only one. Sets them apart.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like on the wackiness scale of NFL jerseys, with that number at the very bottom, number 32 being the Raiders.
Hold on now.
In the most bland, basic jersey setup and pattern possible.
Let's admit this to me, that the NFL's wackiness scale as far as uniforms goes from 1 to 2.
It can go from 1 to 10, but there's not a lot of variance in there.
Because after Jacksonville with their failed experiment with the ombre uniforms that changed color, that was ridiculous. They were ugly, and they
just were 2 colors.
I mean, but I mean, you're stuck with those teams like the Dallas Cowboys. It's blue and white, blue and gray. Okay.
But even then, those got big old stars on them.
Well, they didn't used to, but they changed,
That's
right?
True.
They evolved.
They changed. See, but that's what I mean is you have these team jerseys, a bunch of them. Most teams, I'm going to guess 80% of teams have a fairly tame jersey. Then you have some wacky teams like the Seahawks. Theirs is kind of weird. The Bengals, fairly weird. At least by NFL standards. The Broncos even have a fairly weird jersey because of the way those weird horn things come up on their jersey and on the pants at the same time. The Ravens are a fairly bland jersey, but their numbers are exciting.
Right, they have a different
it's a weird font.
Yeah,
it's a weird font.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I'm saying is like, so you like these bland jerseys. You pick 3 fairly bland jerseys, but you're penalizing them for going more simple. It just seems
okay. Who's your favorite top team, top jersey in the NFL right now?
Oh, the most exciting one to look at has to be not. So you pick the Chargers. I'm picking the Chargers also. Is not the powder blue, but the dark blue.
You like the
yellow,
the LaDainian Tomlinson blue?
Yeah. I dig that true royal blue. It's a really good looking blue.
Okay.
That's a good looking jersey.
So we just voted the Chargers
as plain, just got a slanty number.
We voted the Chargers as the best uniforms in the NFL just now.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like that. And then maybe the Rams, because we were talking about this off air. I like the Rams off blue.
That's a pretty funky jersey.
Or
that's
off white.
Right? There's a team that doesn't have the logo.
Oh yeah, I guess not. They have that Ram.
We just found him. Yep.
Damn it, there's 2.
Thanks for bringing him up.
Way to go. I think that's the only ones now that, and I'm sitting here going through them now. Again,
Washington football team.
Well, I don't know what their logo is, so maybe it is, maybe it isn't on the helmet. I don't know.
That's why we can get away with it. It's because it's somewhere in between right now.
I feel like I don't know what they're. All right, they're going to come up with a name. They literally have thought about just staying as the Washington football team.
I'm not against it at this point.
It's
I've
not
been calling that for a year. It doesn't hurt anything.
It's not terrible, but I feel like you need a nickname. The Washington football team. It just sounds weird.
They put out on their Twitter a list of names the other day, and one of them was the Washington D.C. Football Club, and I'm like, this is not a soccer team. Quit calling yourself a club.
FC Washington.
Right. I like it's so stupid. Don't do that. Don't even need it.
All right, let's talk about college football for a minute. Last thing we're going to talk about, just briefly. Let's talk about let's bat this back and forth for just a minute. The football championship subdivision in the NCAA is beginning their playoffs on Saturday. And the bracket is in front of you in case anybody wants to look at it. I feel like and I thought this was supposed to be a slideshow, like there was going to be multiple multiple things,
Nah, this is
but
good.
it ain't moving. You know what I'm saying? There you go. So I feel like spring football is one of those things that is cool right now this year,
Yeah.
but I am not sold that football needs to be played in the spring. In that I like the tradition of fall football.
Mm.
And I will tell you why. There's nothing like crisp fall football heading into winter, even maybe snowy fall football, or early winter football.
Sure.
That affects the game. It affects the league. The weather can be a factor in some leagues. In some leagues, it can't, like the SEC. Let's admit it. The
Sure.
SEC doesn't run into weather unless it's a hurricane in September.
Right.
But I feel like fall is one of those things that you put a light jacket on, you carry an extra layer with you, you go to a football game, you got a blanket, you tailgate, you watch football. It's cold light in the night, but by that point in time, you're celebrating a victory, so it's all good and all that. Alcohol is pouring through you, whatever. And I just feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. And the spring football feels weird to me, but because it's the first time it's happened.
Sure.
Do you like it?
Yeah. I like it for the FCS. I like it because on those crisp fall football days that you're talking about, you're not going to go sit down to watch any of these teams. You're going to go watch the Oregon Ducks, or if you're in Knoxville, you might go watch the Tennessee Volunteers, or if you're going to go watch the big schools play the big schools. That's what the fall is for. These teams don't get enough airtime, and some of them are pretty good and pretty fun to watch. This is how you're going to get it. You're going to get it by playing games in the spring. And you want snow? Guess what? Go to an early game. Go to an early game in Spokane. There's going to be snow.
Sure.
But you want to watch the playoffs? It's going to be nice outside.
That's true.
Let's talk about the reward for playing later in the season as you get better and better weather.
I guess that's true in this instance, right?
I think it helps the FCS get a little more exposure.
Don't you feel like it may be if you kept it this way? And I'm not opposed to it. I'm not saying that this is wrong because it's kind of fun to tune into the FCS game, especially the playoff games, because those games are going to be pretty good usually. I'm not opposed to this format of having it in the spring. I just feel like maybe you're overshadowing baseball and softball, the end of basketball season because they started playing when basketball is still going on. You're taking some of that away. Your season is supposed to be fall.
I get it, but also, with respect to other college sports, because that's kind of what we're talking about in that regard. And we talked about it the other week. You put up a big old chart on here. You don't make any money.
Right.
So we'll play when we want to play. And you'll figure your stuff out. And that'll be that. When it comes to big schools, big Power 5 schools, the big basketball teams and things like that, they all play in the fall too. They're competing with, they play fall into winter, kind of a little bit of both. But they're competing with football airtime, NFL airtime and things like that. Doesn't seem to cause them any problem. I don't see a big issue with it. I'm sorry, softball. You're not getting my sympathy right now. You're not getting my sympathy for your 60 fans that you pull in when we could pull in, 10,000 fans, 15,000 fans, 20,000 fans to an FCS game because they don't really pull, 40,000 person crowds. We can pull 20,000 fans in to watch this in the spring where we could never do that before. And now during the fall, when our Division I, basketball team, which actually has the ability to go on and play in the tournament, they can get more attention. They can get more focus. And this prevents Alabama and other teams of the like from scheduling these crap FCS opponents.
Yeah.
No more of that. You have to schedule Division I FBS opponents.
They're not playing.
Because they're not playing right now.
Good luck. So good. It is gonna make for better schedule.
That early season will get scarce of low division FBS teams available.
I mean, everyone
will be snatching them up.
Who's gonna play the Citadel if
right?
They aren't playing that.
Alabama plays them every year.
Non-conference schedule. Who's gonna play UT Chattanooga if Tennessee's not playing?
Who's gonna kick the Skyhawks' ass this year? Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be nobody in the SEC.
Right. Or who's going to beat Austin P 73-0, Wisconsin? I'm looking at you.
It's crazy, but that's
Um,
kind of the way I like it. I think it will help prioritize, these smaller schools
Sure.
getting out, being, and also if you're an avid fan of football, maybe you don't like basketball. Well, now you have a whole extra season.
I could, all right. I could, you know what? I'm not
Just from a
sold.
fan
I'm not
perspective.
sold, but I'm
Well,
going
you're
to,
up there next to Central Washington, right?
yeah,
So they'd be playing right now.
that's the nearest school, Central Washington.
Yeah, they'd be playing
To
about this
us.
time of year. They're Division 3, I think, but
Yeah,
they'd be
they're
playing
further
about
down.
this time of year,
And they
which
are.
would be nice. You can go watch them. You don't have to say, "Oh, well, it's a weekend. Either I can go watch
I mean,
Central Washington that I don't care about that much, or I can stay home and watch the Ducks because they
I-
both are on Saturday."
right. I've been to a mild cat football game.
Yeah.
And they played what, I don't know, Azusa Pacific or
Did you call
something.
them a wildcat?
I mean, I'm just saying. And it was I paid the big money for the reserve seat, which was I think $15.
Still a bench, still a metal
Yeah,
bench.
it's still a metal bench, absolutely.
Just in a different spot
with
of
a
the metal
number on
benches.
it.
Ooh, fancy.
I mean, but it was definitely worth the $15.
Being fair, you could spend a couple $100 to go to a Duck game, and it's still a metal bench.
Right? So I don't know that there's any. I mean, all college is kind of the same. But that stadium, I'm guessing that stadium packed to the gills holds 4,000 people,
Right.
maybe 5. And the day I went, the game I went and watched, there was maybe 1,000 people. I don't know, maybe more, but not much more. It was pretty sparse, and it was early season, so it was warm. In the fall, it was a September game.
That's fair.
So I don't know, but it's interesting to watch FCS football. It's a different thing. I like FCS football and they have a tournament. I love that. I don't like the way it's decided who gets in because it's NCAA basketball.
Yeah, it's still committee.
I mean, there's got to be a better. I still, you win your division, you get in a playoff. That should be so. It's so simple. But no, we don't do it that way.
But how does that work in a season like this one where you have Eastern Washington and Weber State that declined to play most of their Big Sky opponents?
Did they
and
really?
Opted again they played a whole season full of weird things. So Portland State this year played one game, and that was against Montana as their quote spring game. But that's because all the other schools backed out of playing them.
So here's your picture right now on the screen of Weber State playing Idaho State, and I feel like I don't know if that's from this year or not. Now that I pulled
those Bengals jerseys are underwhelming.
So let's talk. Right, they kind of are. Isn't that a copyright thing?
That's a spicier version of the jersey than the other one.
It's almost better. I like it better.
That's what they were like 3 years ago, dude.
With the black helmets with the orange stripes on them.
That's what they were like 3 years ago. No, those are orange helmets with black stripes.
Big black stripes.
I'm just tomato.
Zebra.
Zebra.
I feel like so now that I've swapped scenes, I feel like here's what I like about college football in the fall. The weather, I like that. The bowl games. I like bowl games. I like the fact that
there's too many of them and all
there
that
are.
stuff.
I mean, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I like the traditional bowl games that the ones you can count on being there. I don't like the fact that they're part of a playoff system. I hate that. I just want it to be a bowl game. Why can't the Big Ten and Pac-10 champions? I know they're not either one anymore, but why can't they just play each other in the Rose Bowl, right? Every year, because that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it was meant to be. That's the way it was for like almost 100 years. But then we decided, we'll make the Rose Bowl part of the playoff, and we'll put Oklahoma and Ohio State in there. They don't need Ohio State, okay, but Oklahoma doesn't need to be in there. Alabama doesn't need to be playing in the Rose Bowl. That's just not. It's not their part of the country. Go back to your Orange Bowl, your Cotton Bowl, your Sugar Bowl, back in the South, and do your thing. I don't like. I like the New Year's Day Rose Bowl game.
Well, and those aren't going to go anywhere.
I know that, but what I'm getting at, here's what I like. In a perfect world, I think that the FCS and the FBS need to work together. And what would be nice is if they both played in the fall. Why don't we have promotion and relegation like we do in soccer? Why?
Okay, because it's America. That's the start.
Sure, okay, but
it might make sense, but it's also America.
It would be a lot more fun to watch North Dakota State. Right? Get advanced into a division, a conference.
Sure.
Whether it be the Pac-12 or the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And play against those teams and see if they are any good.
Because you're gonna what's it called? Eventually get rid of amateurism in that way. You might be doing it already, and when that happens, maybe you
How about-
eventually go this route. But you're gonna get rid of amateurism because teams have to compete to even stay in this group that profit shares with them.
How about this? What if we just invite the number 1 team in FCS at the end of the season to play in a bowl game against somebody?
I think that's a good idea. I think that works.
As an exhibition type thing.
I think that'll work. Yeah. Yeah, I think that North Dakota State or Eastern Washington every year could do that.
Sure. It would be more fun to watch. Would it not be fun even if it was a mediocre FBS team? Let's say, I don't know, Penn State. Let's take them as an example. I mean, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not great. But let's assume
most of the time they're just this side of great.
They're just this side of Michigan and Ohio State, right?
Without shooting too many shots at Penn State, they've let everyone down a bunch of times.
They have. But that'd be an example. Let's take Penn State plays North Dakota State in a bowl game on January 1st. Wow, that is huge. It'd be a
Sounds
huge
like fun.
Now, here's the problem. Penn State has nothing to gain. If they win, they're a bigger school with a lot more money. They should win.
And everything to lose.
And if they lose, then it's, you lost to a FBS or FCS school.
How could you lose to this school? Whoa, yeah.
Right. The same way that teams lost to Portland State, for example, back, when Portland State beat Washington State, and I think Oregon State was in the same season.
It was in back-to-back
years. Where they knock off Pac-12 teams, and you're like, geez, how do you lose to that?
Why did we play this team?
Right. Why did we even schedule that game? Why do we even have that lever?
A bowl game would be better for this scenario. The reason why you don't schedule those games with teams that you think might beat you, the reason why Penn State doesn't schedule North Dakota State to start the season is because they have to pay North Dakota State $400,000 to come there and play.
Right.
But in a bowl game, that's not the case. The bowl game is paying for the teams to travel. The bowl game is doing all this stuff. They're putting them up in hotels. There's a lot less to lose there in terms of finances. There is a lot to lose, though, in the optics and in losing to an FCS school. I'm on board with bringing some schools up to the next level, but I don't know how you do it with kicking people out, because you can't do that because schools are in a conference for more than just football.
Right.
They're in there for academic reasons. Some schools don't even have football. So you're going to get into this kind of weird scenario where either a conference ends up just taking on tons of schools. You know, I mean, there's only one school a year that'll do it. So over the next 50 years, we're only going to add 50 or so. But I just don't know how you do it effectively.
Right.
I have tried to think about it. I can't find an answer.
Yeah. I just, what?
So right now, just leave them in the spring. It's nice.
I don't know.
Nice. It's nice outside. We're having unseasonably warm weather around here.
It has been great. But I still would rather be outside than watch FCS football at the moment. There's that. Okay, so let's also remind people that next week we're having the NFL mock draft.
That's right.
We will absolutely, and here's everybody listen up. Pay attention. We will absolutely get the first 10 picks right. We guarantee 100% accuracy on our or our next show will be free. So there you go.
That's a big bargain for.
I know, right? People. So I'm just saying. We guarantee what we were going to get the first 10 picks right, and it's all on you because you got the odd picks, and I think number one.
I got the top ones, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
I can guarantee that I'll get number one right.
Probably. I feel like we've got at least 10% already in the bag.
Right.
Yeah. So we only got 90% to go. I feel like we're doing all right. So next week NFL mock draft. It's important. Let's do the trivia question answer because that's kind of important too, and everybody's waiting for that, right? Do you remember the trivia question? Nope.
18 seasons, rebounds, leaders.
And kind of.
Who has the record for average number of rebounds per game in a season?
Yes, you got the last part for sure right. What I want to know is, so in a list of the NBA's top single-season rebounds per game leaders, the first 18 spots are held by two different players.
Right. Okay? Nine in each.
9 apiece. Who are they? That's the first question. Who are they?
Well, one of them's Wilt Chamberlain.
Yes.
Can I get a time frame for the other one?
Same time frame.
Same exact time frame?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Who's another big guy who got a lot of rebounds? Bill Walton comes to mind. Bill Russell comes to mind.
You're already at 50%, so I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy.
Oh, there was a guy named Thurman.
No, not Nate Thurman. He's a guard. Don't do him.
Oh, I thought there was somebody else named Thurman who was a center.
Nope.
Bill Walton, Bill Russell, one of the Bills. I'm gonna go with one of the Bills.
Okay, which one?
Damn it!
You gotta pick. We gotta pick one.
No, Bill Walton didn't play for 9 seasons. So Bill Russell.
Bill Russell is the other correct answer. Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain. Now you got me saying Walt. Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell have the top 18 rebounding seasons.
And this was like late 50s into the 60s, right?
Well, 60s and 70s.
I thought Bill played in the 50s.
Yeah, he did, but he played in the late 50s through the 60s into the 70s. Chamberlain played about the same time frame. I mean, it's almost identical.
Okay.
So, what's the record for rebounds per game in an NBA
season? Average per game.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm trying to think about what I can do in 2K. It's not great. I'll go with 25. 25 flat.
That's a pretty good guess.
That's a really high. That's a lot of rebounds a game.
It is, isn't it?
That means you had some games with 30 and some games with 15.
It isn't. You know what? Why is my trivia question answer not right? Because my picture. Oh, now we got all kinds of issues going on here.
Hey, you trying to play us? I'm
trying to play it. Play me off, Johnny.
I'm gonna guess 25.
And you would be right, but you're not right. It's 20. It's 27.2.
27.2,
and that's Wilt Chamberlain in 1960 and 60.
I would have guessed that it was Wilt Chamberlain, but I didn't think it was that high.
Yeah, he holds the top 3 seasons.
I guess 25, kind of ridiculously expecting it to be lower than that.
No, it's 27.2. He had a couple of games where he had 38 rebounds a game in a game.
The game when he had 100 points. Do you know
so let's back up. Also, he's 7-footer in a time when there weren't very many 7-footers, and if you shot and missed, you're going to get your own rebound.
Well, that's true.
So there's some of that going on.
That's true.
I feel like So by the way, this is last week's trivia question answer.
Yeah, somehow we're getting photos of the.
I don't understand why the Montreal Canadiens are on here and not the people that I picked. But by the way, this is your 76, 77, and 77, 78 Montreal Canadiens from last week. So they are not the answer to the trivia question. It is Wilt Chamberlain. I don't know, man. I just, you know what? I try and do this stuff, and then next thing you know, it's a mess. And what are you gonna do?
By the way, quick update: the Cubs beat the Mets 16-4.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your
Cubs. No big deal. 16 runs.
Are you saying that as in like you're rubbing it into me, or what are you trying to do? Here?
Yeah, I know that you're a fairly passive Mets fan because you're expecting failure, but I just wanted to remind you that it's still happening.
All Mets fans, by the way, expect failure. It's just what we do.
Making the pennant championship was awesome.
I feel like okay, so let's also get another update while I'm on here because you guys can watch this as it happens and you're gonna love it. Let's get the schedule. So where is it?
Where's what?
Where is it? There it is. So Nuggets lead the Blazers 65-59 with 10-13 left to go in third.
Yeah, not surprising.
It's not surprising. And I feel like they don't have a chance to win this game, but there's your current box score for the Portland Trailblazers, by the way. And
if it's within 5 points at the end of the third, the Blazers have a chance. But typically with the Blazers, by the end of the third, it's about a 15-point game.
Lillard's your leading scorer for the Blazers with 13, as he should be probably, but he's 1 for 5 from 3-point land. He will heat up as the second half goes on. And there's your Denver Nuggets, who have 17 from Michael Porter Jr., 15 from Nikola Jokic, the Joker.
Yeah, and missing. They're even missing what's his name, Jamal Murray. So that could be big going into the playoffs.
It might be. We'll see what happens with the Nugs, but right now it's 65-64 with 9:40 to go. That's your current update. Anyway, that's all we have for today. We're going to be back next week, Wednesday, April 28th. Right. Our NFL mock draft. We're going to select picks 1 through 10, and then we're going to have a little discussion on the rest of the draft, basically who we think might go, where some players, of local interest may go. It's going to be a lot of fun. We guarantee 100% accuracy because we can. I mean, have we ever gotten anything wrong on this show?
Of course, it's free.
You know what? No one has ever said, "Hey, you got that wrong," to me yet. So I feel like I'm doing all right.
Except me.
And it's gonna be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss it. It's the draft preview next week on Wednesday because the draft starts on April 29th. That's Thursday morning. So you want to make sure you don't have to get up early and watch the draft, the first 10 picks anyway, because we'll have already told you who they are.
Yep.
So it's that easy. I mean, I'm hyping it up, but am I wrong?
No.
So, again, we're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. Email us, please, lambsports@gmail.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stavenstone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, the division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. We want to thank you all for listening, and please, we'll see you all next week.